Plan B is a backup birth control option that's there for you when things don't go according to plan. It specifically works after unprotected sex and before pregnancy occurs by temporarily delaying ovulation. Plan B is available nationwide at all major retailers and through delivery apps like DoorDash. No ID, prescription, or age requirement. It's the #1 OBGYN recommended brand of emergency contraception, and it won't impact your future fertility. That's freedom to be. Use as directed.
Welcome to the Scary Movie Project, where darkness meets delight. We review the creepiest films, from classics to new fright. We dive into haunted places, the eerie, the unknown, so grab your popcorn and don't watch alone. From the supernatural tales to the shadows that creep, we're your guide through nightmares that'll haunt your sleep. Tune in, if you dare, to the horrors we dissect. You're in for a thrill on the Scary Movie Project. Stay connected with the Scary Movie Project. Visit our website, thescarymovieproject.com, at The Scary Movie Project on Instagram and Facebook, and email us at thescarymovieproject@gmail.com.
Have you ever been listening to a creepy ghost story or haunting history, and you're like, damn, this is so enjoyable, but I wish my friends were here so we could experience it together? That's us, Gina and Catherine, and we'll bring the snacks when you join us on I Scream, You Scream, the podcast where we serve up chilling stories with a side of our favorite ice cream.
Every month, we pick a new flavor of ice cream and a new topic to go along with it. Werewolves, poison, cemeteries, you name it. From deep dives into stories we all thought we knew to your real-world experiences, at this ice cream party, we always get to the bottom of the bowl.
Cozy up with us every Tuesday for your weekly scoop of the most chilling histories, mysteries, and paranormal perplexities. Until then, keep it cool.
And keep it creepy with I Scream, You Scream wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell you scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse wherever you stream podcasts. Just be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. An important note: sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. Here's something you may never have thought about. Human faces are unusually varied compared to the animal kingdom. I'd never really considered it before prepping this episode. But think about it for a second. There are so many different facial features and structures that the combinations are seemingly endless. Forehead, hairline, eyebrows, eyelids, eyes, nose, mouth, lips, chin, teeth, ears, cheekbones, jawline, and skin. The list goes on, and when you factor in size, shape, color, and things like freckles, sunspots, H-spots, wrinkles, lines, and more, it would make sense that apart from identical twins, no two people would come close to looking alike. But here's something unsettling, and maybe downright scary. Folklore suggests that every person has at least one doppelganger, someone who is a perfect duplicate of you. And while researching, I read more than one article that claimed a person has as many as 7 living doppelgangers, as in, those people, alongside you, are walking the earth today. Obviously, all of this has got me thinking about doppelgangers, but not the real-life, flesh-and-blood people who may resemble you, but the folklore versions, whose presence may signal something dark and foreboding. I've mentioned this before, but I'm Puerto Rican by descent, and in our culture, it is believed each person has a spiritual double, called a sombra, or shadow. And while not always a bad omen, there are times when it's exactly that. And while thankfully I've never encountered my sombra, I've been wondering if there was a way to conjure it. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, I'm going to tell you 3 scary rituals to conjure your doppelganger. And a quick shout out to T, for suggesting a Scary Games or Rituals episode. It's always an honor when a fan and listener of the show reaches out to make a suggestion. Along the way, we'll consider these questions. Is it really possible to summon your spiritual double? And if so, what does it mean for you? I'll share the details. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. Our first game is called How to Meet Your Penumbra. In the simplest sense, your penumbra is everything you are not, your exact opposite. Think of your values, priorities, and personality. Your penumbra is the exact opposite of those things. Each person is said to have a unique penumbra, except there is one commonality. Your penumbra only cares about you. No one and nothing else, and it will do anything to make sure you're taken care of. There's one other thing. Your penumbra doesn't exist outside yourself, and its sole purpose is to help you overcome whatever internal obstacles exist inside yourself. Whether good or bad, it doesn't care. As with all of these rituals, it's not recommended that you attempt to conjure your penumbra, because who knows what will show up in its place. If you do attempt it, you do so at your own risk or peril. Here's how to do it. Before you begin, there's a bit of prep work for the ritual, starting with avoiding sleep for at least 24 hours. It's believed you are most likely to meet your penumbra when you have less control over your thoughts. During this 24-hour period, you must avoid contact with all people. You may listen to music, watch television, and do whatever you need to do to keep yourself occupied and awake. But you must not talk to another person, either face-to-face, through text message, email, or any other form of communication. This is important because human beings generally seek out social interaction and community. But by avoiding this, you're setting yourself up to communicate with your penumbra. An important note: you must be in a healthy mental state to perform this ritual. The lack of sleep and social isolation may not be helpful for some people. And remember, your penumbra is looking out for your best interests, even if you don't think it is. It will not hesitate to manipulate you if it thinks it's helping you out. Remember, it's the exact opposite of you. Another quick warning: if you perform this ritual, you do so at your own risk and peril. You are choosing to do this on your own. If you decide to proceed, here's what comes next. First, make your surroundings as quiet as possible. Turn off all music, television, or ambient noise. Then, sit and clear your mind for a few minutes. When you feel ready, imagine the narrative below. You are in a forest. It is dusk and the sun is setting. The wind begins to pick up. You are returning home when you come across a shrine. You make an offering and say why you wish to talk to your penumbra. Then you move on. The sun dips below the horizon, but the dying sunlight lingers. As you continue to walk, you come across a bridge. Make a sign of respect and cross it. You find yourself in front of a home, and when you reach the home, it will be night and above you will be a starless sky. Enter the home and await your guest. By now, things should feel more natural. As you enter the home, it's important for you to try to memorize the details. What does the home look like? Is there furniture? What is the layout? Your penumbra should greet you shortly. At first, it may look like a silhouette or a blurred figure. You may have trouble discerning its shape or outline. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Your priority is trying to speak to it. An important note: if you see anyone else in the home, do not speak to it and end the ritual immediately. It doesn't matter if it's a familiar face, or a family member, or a friend. That person doesn't belong there. And neither do you, so end the ritual immediately. But if all you see is your penumbra, keep in mind there is no etiquette when speaking to it. Simply talk. Some recommend sharing about your goals, your fears, or your desires. While talking to it, observe its personality and mannerisms. Remember, your penumbra is the opposite of you. So if its behavior seems strange, it's pointing back to you in opposite ways. A very important note: take everything your penumbra says with a grain of salt and healthy skepticism. It will lie to you if it believes that it will be in your best interest. When you're ready to end the ritual, simply wake up. You should be back in the same place you started. There are a few important guidelines when speaking to your penumbra. You may ask for it to share your body and act on your behalf in the real world. For example, if your penumbra appears patient, it will signal that you're impatient in real life. You can ask it to impart its patience to you. But beware, what you're asking for is possession, and who knows what can come of that. Another note: your request must be qualified and specific. And finally, you can revoke permission to your penumbra at any time by stating it out loud 3 times. It should have no power over you after that. I say should, because nothing is ever really guaranteed. Our second game is called an alternate soul. This one is relatively simple, at least in terms of setup and preparation. An alternate soul has been around the internet for quite some time. But just because it's familiar and simple doesn't mean it's safe. And it's suggested that you should avoid this game if at all possible. Here's how to play. First, only one player is required, but you'll need to gather a few items in advance. A mirror, a candle and matches or lighter, a watch or other timekeeping device, an alarm, though this can be included in the watch or timekeeping device, a timer, though this too can be included in the watch or timekeeping device, a dark, quiet room, and finally, blood. An important note: the blood does not have to be your own, and there doesn't seem to be any specific instructions on how you get it. It can be animal blood, which you can purchase at certain food or grocery stores, a discretionary comment, and maybe even a warning. The Red Treehouse strongly condemns the hurting or killing of people or animals, so please source the blood legally, ethically, and responsibly if you plan to play this game. Once you have these items, you're ready to prepare for the ritual. First, just before midnight, gather your supplies and bring them to the room and close the door behind you. Then, set up the mirror if needed. You should be able to sit or stand comfortably in front of it, so you are facing your reflection. Once you've done this, close the curtains or blinds and make sure the room is pitch black. Then, Check the time to make sure it is still before midnight. You must keep an eye on the time. Then, place the candle in front of the mirror and the lighter or matches nearby. Be sure the blood is also within reach. Check the time once again to make sure it is still before midnight. Make sure to keep an eye on the time. Then, turn out the lights and set an alarm for 12:17 a.m. Check the time again and make sure it is still before midnight. By now, it should just be a minute or two before. At exactly midnight, light the candle and set a timer for 10 minutes. And finally, stand in front of the mirror. Once you've taken all of these steps, you're ready to begin the ritual. First, at exactly midnight, after lighting the candle, start the timer, look into the mirror, and focus closely on your reflection. Meet your own eyes in the mirror and hold your gaze. Then, stand there or sit there, quietly focusing, for 10 minutes. An important note: do not look away from your reflection. You must maintain constant eye contact with your own reflection. Then, after the 10 minutes have passed and the timer goes off, dip your fingertip in the blood and draw a line across the mirror, directly over your own reflection's eyes. An important note: do not look away while doing this. You must maintain eye contact at all times. If your reflection stays the same, the ritual failed. Do not proceed, and instead blow out the candle, wipe the blood from the mirror, and immediately leave the room. Do not return until after sunrise. But if you look, and your reflection seems different, the ritual has succeeded. You may proceed, but do not look away from the mirror. Maintain eye contact at all times. It's important that you pay close attention to your reflection. Is it moving, shifting, or changing? Be sure to stay looking at it, no matter how scared you get. At some point, you may notice your reflection has taken on a new shape. What does it look like? How does it sound? What are its movements like? It's important to try and remember as many details as possible. And do not look away, and maintain eye contact. Stay like this until 12:17 a.m. when your alarm goes off. Here's how to end the ritual. At 12:17 a.m., blow out the candle. It's important that you extinguish the candle at exactly 12:17 a.m. If you've ended the ritual correctly, the creature, which by the way is yourself, will disappear. If it's gone, wipe the blood from the mirror, turn on the lights, and leave the room. And while the monster may have disappeared, you may catch it from time to time staring back at you from a reflective surface. And if you do, it's important that you get away as quickly as possible. A quick note: the purpose of this ritual is to simply conjure your doppelganger. There's no fortune telling. It's not a magic genie. And it's very possible that what you conjure may only have bad intentions in its mind. Our third game is called the Hospitality Game. This one dates back to the early 2010s and is downright eerie. It's highly recommended that you play this one at your own risk, and preferably by yourself. An important note: preparation for this game is extensive and requires a large number of items. If you decide to play, the first thing you'll need to do is determine if you want to play by yourself or have an observer. The observer is not recommended. Once you've decided, you'll need to gather more than a few items. A room with at least one window that opens and a door that closes. A table to place inside the room. Then you'll need to find a second room with a door that closes and locks, preferably one without a window, like a bathroom. Then you'll need a television or radio, a small mirror, 2 candles and matches or a lighter, a fire extinguisher and other fire safety supplies, a glass of water, a bowl of cooked rice, 2 sheets of blank paper, a pen or marker with red ink, a picture of yourself, a strand of your hair, a drop of your blood, red thread, yarn, or string, a lot of it, scissors, tape, an alarm clock, and salt, which is optional. Once you've gathered the list of items, you're ready to begin. First, begin the ritual at night. The time doesn't really matter. Then, bring the supplies to the first room with the window that opens and the door that closes. Once inside, turn off the lights. Then place the television or radio on or near the table. Turn it on, and turn either the television or radio to a station with no frequency, one that's playing only static or silence. Turn the volume up to its maximum level. Once you've found it, place the mirror on the table. Place the candles on either side of the mirror. Place the bowl of rice in front of the mirror, in between the candles, and place the glass of water next to the bowl of rice. Then, once you're set up, determine finally if you're sure you're ready to do this. If so, light the candles. Once the candles are lit, the ritual begins. First, take the photograph of yourself and attach it to the mirror using the tape. Then, take the strand of your own hair and lay it on top of the rice. After that, take the drop of your own blood and put it into the glass of water. Place 1 sheet of blank paper on the table. Then, using the red ink pen or marker, write the word forbidden, F-O-R-B-I-D-D-E-N, on the other sheet of paper. Use the tape and attach the forbidden paper to the door of the room, and leave the pen or marker on the table next to the blank sheet of paper. Then, measure a length of red thread, yarn, or string. It must be long enough to stretch across the width of the door. Then, cut it with the scissors. And then measure 2 more identical lengths. Once you have them, tape them across the width of the door, 1 at the top, 1 in the middle, and 1 at the bottom. Then, open the window, and immediately afterwards, exit the room, taking the alarm clock with you. Close the door behind you, and make sure it latches. Once you've left, go to the second room, the one with the door that locks. This is your safe room. Once you're inside, close the door and lock it, and set the alarm to go off anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours. An important note: do not set it for less than 30 minutes or more than 2 hours. A second important note: do not unlock the door, open the door, or exit the room before the alarm goes off, no matter what you hear outside. When the alarm goes off, you're ready to end the ritual. Unlock the door to the safe room, open it, and go back to the first room. But do not touch or open the door just yet. While standing outside, ask this out loud: is anyone inside? Listen carefully for 5 seconds. Do you hear anything? Do not touch or open the door just yet. Ask again, is anyone inside? And listen carefully for 5 more seconds. Repeat this process 8 more times for a total of 10. And please, do not touch or open the door at all. If after the 10th time, you hear nothing coming from inside the room is empty, and you may continue. But if you hear something inside the room is not empty. Say aloud, please leave the way you entered, and wait 5 seconds and listen. If you hear anything, repeat it, and do this until you hear nothing, and you're certain the room is empty. Once you're certain, open the door and enter the room. Then turn on the lights, close the window, blow out the candles, and turn off the television or radio. After all of this, clean the table and throw away the candles, mirror, picture of yourself, the bowl of rice, and the glass of water. After all of this, you may now look at the sheet of paper you left on the table. If it's blank, you got lucky, because your doppelganger has no ill will towards you. But if there's something written on it, your doppelganger has just given you your future, and it's always a bad sign. Which of these rituals are you courageous enough to try? Another huge shout out to T for suggesting this episode. I think it's been several months since I've done a Scary Games episode, and I always love doing these. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with these lingering questions. Is it possible these rituals open a portal to a paranormal and supernatural world? And by playing them, are you opening yourself up to potential malevolent spirits whose goal is to haunt you forever? I've shared the details. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.